We have a lot to discuss about the 2021 Phillies, and we've got just the guy to help us do that. He runs the Phillies Nation website, and his name is Brian Michael. So let's say hello. Hey, Brian, how you doing, man?
Hello, how are you, Chet?
Doing okay, doing all right. Let's get right into it. The Phillies are tough to figure out for me. I'm just not sure how good or not good this Phillies team is, Brian. As we speak, they're 19-17, just a game out of first place, but there are clearly some issues. Center field, the back of the rotation, and another oldie but goodie from seasons past, the bullpen. Let's start with center field. At least four guys have manned that position this season. I know Odubel had a couple of hits last night in the Tuesday win, but quite frankly, no one has been overly impressive as far as the center fielders go. What is your take on the guys that we've seen out there, and might Dave Dombrowski make a trade to try to improve the situation?
Sure. Well, you mentioned Odubel, and he appears to be the front runner for the position right now. You know, he was off to a slow start in his first game back in, almost 2 years, but he seemed to come on the past couple days. He'll need to continue that to keep the position, but I think for now, the next couple games and weeks, it's his to lose. So you have him, I would say, as the front runner. Roman Quinn, with his hand injury that he got bunting, is expected back in about a week, I'd say. So there's a chance he could reclaim the position. Again, he wasn't turning any heads when he had the chance, but I think the Phillies would hope Roman Quinn is the answer long term. If he can stay healthy, which he hasn't yet, this has been an ongoing thing with him. He easily could have had the position 3-4 years ago. He just fails to stay healthy each year. Although hopefully this is a short-term injury. So, I think he might be second on the list. Kingery, who knows? I think third might be your suggestion in a trade. Right, so there might be some trade potential, and of course, Dave Dombrowski is known to make some big splashes when he thinks it can propel the team into the playoffs or win. So I don't think the Phillies are quite there yet. So I don't know if we would see a move yet. I would think it would be closer to the deadline as things pan out, both for them and some potential trade partners. But there are a lot of names being thrown around, and we've had a few articles on Phillies Nation about that too. Any of the outfield position, obviously Harper, but McCutchen isn't doing too hot either. So whether it's left, whether it's center, even another backup that could stabilize could work. So again, on Phillies Nation, a few names got thrown out. In addition to Chris Bryant, who Matt Breen mentioned yesterday, but also Charlie Blackmon, Joey Gallo, Michael A. Taylor. I think some of those names might make more sense. Chris Bryant has a pretty hefty price tag attached to him. So I think we're a bit away from a decision. It's kind of wait and see with Herrera for now. And if he blows it, then we'll be on to the next choice, which again could be Quinn if he's back. If not, I think the trade definitely becomes more likely.
In addition to having a hefty price tag, Chris Bryant, I think, is more of a third baseman, a left fielder. I know he has played some center field lately, 3 or 4 games, and maybe that's so he can show off his skills to potential trade partners. But hey, we didn't mention 2 other guys, and that would be Mickey Moniak and Adam Hazley. Have the Phillies said anything new regarding Hazley and his personal situation?
Nope, nothing, and nothing that we've heard. It's been asked a few times, and still no more information on it. So we're kind of just respecting that at this point, and waiting and see on him. Moniak, again, it doesn't seem like he was turning any heads either. So he might be the 4th option if that comes to it. But they need production out of the center field position. So Chris Bryant, like you said, definitely is more of a third baseman, although he's played outfield more. He would be instant offense to the lineup. His bat, obviously, I think would be the bigger key there. But some of the other guys, like I mentioned, are cheaper. Joey Gallo and Michael Taylor probably. So they might make more sense long term. But again, Dave Dombrowski, if he wants to go all in, Chris Bryant would certainly be the option there.
You mentioned Andrew McCutchen, the left fielder. He's been inconsistent this year, got off to a horrible start. He's had some good games, some not so good games, 2 homers in 1 game last week. How much do you think Kutch has left in the tank?
I hope more than we think, but it looks like he's running on fumes this year. He definitely is a presence in the clubhouse, so there's no doubt about that, his value on the team and intangibles. But in terms of producing in the lineup, it just isn't there. And, not drawing as many walks and not getting on base isn't helping either. And, his home runs have been solo home runs, so it's always hard to put everything together for his contributions to really help, on the field. But he's a leader. He's someone I think the Phillies need in the clubhouse. So, I don't see him going away this year.
All right. Now, Bryce Harper, we don't have to talk about. He's fine. He's got the wrist injury. He's not a worry at all. Alec Boehm, the third baseman, has had some moments, but he's struggled more than we'd like to see. Is there just a little sophomore slump, or what do you see in Alec Boehm?
Yeah, it's definitely a bit of that. He's still young. He is leading the team in WAR, just under 1. I think he's tied with Didi, but high strikeouts, right?
Yeah.
So that's definitely the big thing that he needs to work on. And again, he's a young hitter. It's to be expected a bit, but it's something that you keep an eye on and that he absolutely needs to work on. And, Rhys Hoskins, for that matter, too, he really hasn't fixed that issue that has been creeping up the past couple of years. I think Rhys is over 40 strikeouts already this season. So Boehm, if he could get a little bit more better plate discipline, turn some more strikeouts into walks, that would be his key for turning things around. But potential sky high. I think he's going to be the third baseman, for a long time still. So we just need to see that growth, that next step throughout the rest of the season. So he has time. He has time this season still.
True or false, Brian? Aaron Nola is not a true ace.
That's false. He's a true ace. He's a true ace. I think he is. He's shown it, even if he's not at that potential this season. He's shown it a couple years ago, and he's still the best pitcher on this team, which Wheeler and Zach Eflin are certainly giving him a run for his money. But that's a good thing. He'll, I think, at the end of the season, again, settle down. He's the ace on this team. Maybe on other teams he might not be, but certainly for the Phils, he's the ace so far.
All right. Well, the other guys that you mentioned, the 2 Zachs, have been pretty good much of the time this year. Zach Wheeler, who's on the mound tonight, and Zach Eflin. Eflin has shown flashes in past years. Is this perhaps a breakout year for Zach Eflin?
I hope so. And he, I think, has gradually been getting better. The flashes have been becoming more consistent. Mm-hmm. And I think this year is, yes, a byproduct of that. And, even just working with Aaron Nola and the staff and being more familiar certainly helps. And have a JT back, that consistency helps. And Knapp, right? They're both back. And yeah, I do think he could be a legit number 2 starter as well.
What are we hearing from Lehigh Valley and Spencer Howard? I believe I heard he pitched 3 innings last night. And what are the plans for him? Are they grooming him to pitch more innings, maybe, then come up and pitch 5 or 6 innings in some real major league games?
Joe Girardi did mention him on today's press conference as well. He was asked, and there is a plan, and it's going to be to increase the innings and at Lehigh Valley for now. So he did not say in the foreseeable future that he'll be called up. I think the question was, do we expect to see him in a month? And Girardi was kind of non-committal on that. So it sounds like he'll be getting some more experience in AAA for the time being.
Mm-hmm. Now,
but real quick, that could be some a benefit in the future. They have some starting pitching kind of in the tank if they needed.
Well, the 4 and 5 starters are always a question mark. Matt Moore out of the rotation for now. Vince Velasquez, I can't believe we're still mentioning that name here in 2021. And last night, Chase Anderson, both had very impressive starts their last time out. That being the case, I never expect a whole lot from either of those guys when they start. What's your take on Velasquez and Anderson?
You're right about Velasquez. It's amazing that we're still talking about him.
Yeah.
Him, Roman Quinn, and Herrera. It seems like they've been getting a lot of chances. So we're, hopefully things work out and he's back as a starter. The Phillies, as you mentioned, need some bullpen help and certainly need a closer. So everyone's really talked about him in the closing spot. He's usually good the first 2-3 innings. Has a really high strikeout ratio, I think over 11 per 9. So he kind of could fit into that bullpen role if they want to find something for him. But, yeah, just him moving back and forth I don't think is going to help his situation. Having something definitive, maybe as a setup man or certainly closer, because that, I think, position's up in the air now.
Well, speaking of the bullpen and the closer, Hector Neris, is he still the best option in your mind in terms of the closer? I like Sam Coonrod a lot. I'd like to see him get a chance. Why not him? Why do they stick with Hector Neris, who always seems to make it an adventure when he goes out there?
Sure, exactly. I think it was that kind of idea of just having a consistent player, and I think it's still early in the season. That's something you hear Joe saying. So I don't think they're ready to make any big decisions like that yet. But I agree. I don't think he's the best option right now. Coonrod has been good. Archie Bradley should be back, I think, next week as well.
Yeah.
So they do have some options. None of them are great, but, Neris hasn't really shown that ability. 50% is not what you need from a closer.
Yeah. I agree. All right. I want to ask about Nick Maton, the young second baseman. Got off to a great start. He was hitting, 500 or whatever after his first 6 games. He's come back down to earth as expected since then. Mm-hmm. But all in all, he's a 24-year-old kid who I don't think was even considered a top prospect. Does Maton have a future?
Yeah. I think the Phillies are high on Maton. He's young enough. They have him under contract. So, yeah, I do think he has a future here in Philadelphia. Now, he could also have a future as a trade piece if he continues to play. But, he had that big RBI double in the Phillies' crazy game on Saturday. Mm-hmm. And he's still hitting just under 300, but not a lot of power. Now the Phillies get that from elsewhere. So if he can get some more at-bats and show that he can get on base consistently, I think he definitely has a future with the Phils. If not as a starter, certainly as the super sub that they hope Scott Kingery would have been.
I want to talk about Joe Girardi. Everybody loved the hire, especially after the 2 years of Gabe Kapler, who the town just did not ever take to. But Girardi's made some questionable moves. There was the lineup snafu recently. There was just last night, pinch hitting or not pinch hitting for Chase Anderson, who had thrown 5 good innings, but always struggles the third time through the lineup. And they had the bases loaded, nobody out, a chance to really blow the game open. Bill and I have talked about this. If Gabe Kapler had done these things, they would have killed him. But Girardi has gotten a bit of a pass until recently. I'm starting to hear some people starting to question, his decision making. Is Girardi overrated, or is he what he is?
If we think he's going to come in and win a World Series, then yes, he would be overrated. I don't think that's possible with the current incarnation of the lineup. But yes, he has made a lot of head scratching decisions, and just watching the game and writing post game write ups. Fortunately, they haven't been major. I know that the lineup card is a pretty big deal. I know Tony La Russa he forgot some of the new extra inning rules. So you see that a bit. I don't think any of them have been so major or so egregious that, he should be run out of town. But I think a lot of the chatter has come from Girardi himself. So he's kind of admitted to making these mistakes, which is not really something we saw with, Kapler. It's more just kind of, well, that's what happened, or that was the plan, and the plan went bad. And Girardi has been his own biggest critic, I would say. So, he's mentioned that he's made a couple of mistakes. I think they're small mistakes, but they're definitely adding up. And I think that's starting to get noticeable. And, just all the double switches, which is somewhat new. And, he hasn't really had much help off the bench either. Yeah. So anytime you bring in someone off the bench and there's no production, it's going to look like a bad decision more times than not. So that part I don't fault him for. But, yeah, the mistakes are starting to pile up. So I think the Phillies need to tighten up some things on all fronts.
So as we wrap up our Phillies discussion, Brian, as I said, they're 19-17, a game out of first place, not even a quarter of the way into the season. What is the outlook for the Phils in 2021 here? Will they stay in contention in the East, do you think?
Yes, I do think they'll certainly stay in contention. It doesn't look like anyone's running away with the division. The Mets are certainly hot right now, winning their last 7 games. But everyone said it would be the toughest division in baseball, and in some senses it is, with them beating up on each other. They have a few games against the Marlins coming up here in the next couple of weeks. So, yeah, I absolutely think they'll be in it and be buyers at the trade deadline. So as we get closer to that, hopefully I can come back on and we can have some juicy trade rumor talks.
Absolutely.